Donald Trump said on Saturday that his Moscow-drafted peace plan was not my final offer, after a furious backlash from Ukrainians who described it as reminiscent of Neville Chamberlain's 1938 Munich Agreement with Adolf Hitler. The U.S. president told reporters during brief remarks at the White House, "We'd like to get to peace. It should have happened a long time ago. We're trying to get it ended. One way or the other, we have to get it ended." Ukrainian and American officials will meet in Switzerland on Sunday for talks to discuss the plan. Security officials from France, Britain, and Germany are expected to join them in Geneva. In the build-up to the talks, the U.S. State Department disputed claims by U.S. senators from across the political spectrum that Secretary of State Marco Rubio had told them the proposal was not the administration's plan, but a wish list of the Russians. The claim, made by figures including the independent Senator Angus King, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, was blatantly false, said U.S. State Department Deputy Spokesman Tommy Pigott. Rubio later said in a post that the proposal was authored by the U.S. as a strong framework for ongoing negotiations and was based on input from both sides. Trump has given Volodymyr Zelensky until Thursday to sign the 28-point document. It calls on Kyiv to give up territory it currently controls to Russia, reduce the size of its army, and relinquish long-range weapons. It also rules out a European peacekeeping force and sanctions for Russian war crimes. In a somber address on Friday, Zelensky warned his country faces an impossible choice over the coming days between keeping its national dignity and losing a major partner in the shape of the U.S. It faces one of the most difficult moments in its history, he admitted. Speaking on Saturday, Zelensky said real or dignified peace was always based on guaranteed security and justice. He announced a negotiating team, appointed by presidential decree, that would soon meet its U.S. counterparts in Geneva, led by his chief of staff, Andriy Yermak. Another member of the Ukrainian delegation, former defense minister and National Security Council secretary Rustem Umerov, said there would be consultations with Washington on the possible parameters of a future peace agreement. Hinting at red lines, Umerov added, "Ukraine approaches this process with a clear understanding of its interests. This is another stage of the dialogue that has been ongoing in recent days and is primarily aimed at aligning our vision for the next steps." Zelensky has sought to engage constructively with a White House seemingly determined to end the conflict on the Kremlin's one-sided terms. He has made clear he cannot give up Ukraine's sovereignty or abandon a constitution that enshrines the country's current borders. At a meeting in South Africa, G20 leaders and the European Council issued a joint statement pushing back on Trump's plan, saying it needs additional work. It said EU and NATO members would need to be consulted on some of its provisions, which rule out Kyiv's NATO membership and put conditions on its future EU accession. Ukrainian reaction to the text, drawn up by Putin's envoy Kirill Dmitriev and Trump's representative Steve Witkoff, has been overwhelmingly hostile. Commentators said it was a blueprint for another Russian invasion, not only of Ukraine, but of other parts of Europe as well. Mustafa Nayyem, a journalist and politician who led Ukraine's 2014 pro-democracy Maidan revolution, said it invited parallels with Chamberlain's infamous Munich deal with Hitler. Trump's peace plan came from the same recognizable genre, with the victim invited to formulate his own defeats so everyone else can live easier. In a Facebook post, Nayyem said he was outraged by its full amnesty for Russian war crimes. It was an insult to people who had hidden in basements in Bucha or Mariupol, where Russian troops executed hundreds of civilians, and for those whose children had been forcibly deported to Russia. A rather cynical agreement, he concluded. Speaking in Kyiv's Golden Gate metro station, Dmytro Sersky, 21, said Russia had been trying to control Ukraine politically and territorially for years. It conceded barely anything in the Trump agreement and continued to keep its forces on Ukrainian soil. He said the deal was an attempt to break Ukraine and force unjust conditions on us.